It's finally springtime! And of course, it's like I was hibernating. As soon as it is springtime, the colors are popping. I just decided that I really want extreme color on my outfit, even though maybe it's not gonna match, but I don't care because I'm so happy that springtime is coming and flowers and all of the beauty is going to be with us. And also Baba Marta, if people are Bulgarian, Baba Marta is also coming. Happy Baba Marta, everyone! I enjoy collecting vintage knit patterns, but I can't knit them all. I really want to give some love to the patterns that I have in my collection and showcase them in case I want to knit them in the future or maybe inspire your future garments. This is a selection of knit patterns for the month of March. When it comes to March, I got very inspired by flowers again because we're finally actually there with the flowers, with the bloom, the first month of spring. We have survived the cold winter months. And of course, it is not going to be my video without one pattern at least with flower pattern on it. I think I will never showcase a video where it's just plain knits. The first pattern that I have selected, I am Bulgarian. I wanted to recreate my culture's outfit. Also, I'm not only Bulgarian, I am also Turkish. I'm a Bulgarian Turk. We have a very specific garment that we would wear, or my grandmothers would always make for us, and it is called terlik, or they're stockings. They kind of feel like shoes because you can just wear them on top of your socks. They're made out of more durable wool. I think Bulgarian wool is very harsh, but it is perfect for these makes because it is more durable. Terlik is something very special for me and I want to learn. I also want to showcase this as my first pattern for inspiration for March. They look very interesting as socks. There's two versions. There is the Turkish stockings and then there are the Bulgarian stockings. They're very different. What I'm thinking of is more of a shorter version. It's a bit chilly. I'm wearing them on my legs. They're awesome. You can wear them as home slippers and they're perfect. They keep you super warm. I really want to learn this craft for myself and also to explore my culture a bit more. March for us, for Bulgarians, is very important because we celebrate Baba Marta and it is all about coming of spring. Beginning of spring for me is open with different opportunities, with different ways of crafting things, and for me I really wanted to understand my culture a bit more and actually craft something from my culture. And maybe in the future I will continue our traditions of making items that are very special for my culture. Also, this is a great opportunity for some of you to get inspired to make something that is close to your culture, learn crafts that your grandmothers, great-grandmothers were doing. For the second pattern, it is a Fair Isle jumper. What is lovely about this jumper is that it has short sleeves, and the coolest thing about this color work is that you are not knitting it whilst making the garment. You actually do... You're actually doing duplicate stitching, which is interesting because you don't have to think a lot about how to do color work. And this one is just wonderful for those that really want an introduction for color work. So instead of using the Fair Isle in a traditional way, you're just doing the duplicate stitching. Is it more time consuming? Maybe. Maybe if you limit it to a couple of flowers instead of doing it for the whole thing. I'd probably also recommend doing it as a Fair Isle because I've done it as my first color work. It is not as complicated as you would think. Beginning requires a bit more research. This one, for example, is a Fair Isle, not mine, vintage. This is an example for you that if you're not a fan of wool for springtime, you can also knit with cotton or linen. This one's a lovely example. This one I really love because again, flowers. Who doesn't love flowers? I mean, you already know me. Like, come on. Look at me. Yeah, of course I'm gonna want to knit something that is fully with flowers. I think this one's actually a 1940s pattern, so I really love the sleeves, how it is done. It's a bit like boxier. This one is just a wonderful jumper. If you want one, I would recommend. Please make a jumper that looks like this. We should make more of these very special things that are made a bit more complex, but give us happiness when we wear these things. I hope people understand what I mean. I feel like a lot of people would know already what I'm gonna show next. It is a colorwork waistcoat. It doesn't have a specific name, it's just called a CoverGirl's pattern. It is March 1947 pattern from Stitchcraft. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I really love the colors. I mean, you know, I'm a fan. Actually, I didn't tell you, but I really love the combination of white, red, green. This one also has yellow on it, so that's pretty perfect, but I probably would have just removed yellow or maybe like added a different color. It's a waistcoat again, but how can you can't do that. Like, no. You can't do that to me. This is so beautiful. And come on, as I said, 1940s, perfect time if you really love vintage patterns and you love waistcoats. Please make a waistcoat. I will not stop including these beauties in my selection because how elegant this is. Oh my god, how elegant this is. If you think about it, it is a March, but also it kind of looks like snowflakes. But because they added red and green and yellow, it actually starts to look like flowers. So if you have Christmassy pattern and if you weren't really feeling it, or maybe you're really want to make one, but you're like, oh, but it's like, am I gonna be making a Christmassy one in March? Change colors and the snowflakes are not gonna look like snowflakes anymore because it's gonna look like flowers, it's gonna look like sparkles, it's going to look like the feel you're in nature, and it's just so beautiful and it brings you so much happiness because there's so many different colors on it and not just Christmassy colors, but you're making it for springtime. You can pretty much do anything with whatever garment you have. If you choose different colors to the original pattern, it becomes so much more different, so much more exciting. And I think this just hopefully inspires you to make your next garment in these beautiful colors. Doesn't really scream Christmas, it just screams beautiful flowers. This is one of the magazines that I have that is from 1947, one of my limited collection. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of 1940s patterns from Stitchcraft. These are a bit more harder to find and also a bit more expensive, but this one was a lucky find and it is probably one of my adored patterns. Not only patterns but also magazines, because inside of it there are even more beautiful patterns. But I'm just gonna kind of give you introduction to this one. This is a very good edition of the Stitchcraft. Next, if you still weren't very convinced by my previous video where I was literally just talking about cardigans all the time, well, this is another nudge to you, showing you a different variation of a cardigan. And I promise there won't be any more cardigans, or maybe there will be, I don't know. We don't know. Maybe there is a cardigan. This time it is not a specifically a cardigan episode. This is more about colors. And again, if you don't have anything that is in green, make something in green. If you are not a fan of green, don't make anything in green, but I really love green, so I might make another thing that is green. This is a pretty exciting one. Come on, cardigans. You can't go wrong with cardigans in spring. And this is just perfect for throughout the year even, not only spring. Look how beautiful these colors are. If you're not a fan of green, you can go with blue, light blue. I really love these specks. Just something about specks in yarn is so fascinating to me, and this one's wonderful because you have alternative necklines, so you can go with anything whenever you feel like it. And this is also a raglan cardigan, pretty easy to knit. The colors are fantastic. I'm just very a fan of this. And also this is actually double knitting, which is a DK yarn, which is a lot faster to knit than something like a fingering yarn. If you want to knit a cardigan, go with thicker yarn and you will be finished a lot faster than if you knit it with something that is tiny yarn. So that's a fun little cardigan for you to try. And maybe you have a pattern already lying around with cardigans, but you're not sure what to do with them. Try adding some green and maybe even color work. I mean, come on, do some color work. It's gonna be so fun. Ladies cardigan. I also found a March 1960s vintage booklet, Step into Spring, and it is pretty exciting. It has actually multiple patterns in it, but I really got inspired by this one because this is for those that are not a fan of color work but really want to maybe like add a bit. This is pretty good for maybe you're really not interested in making your sweaters as colorful as mine, like the full-on Fair Isle color work going through. I feel like this is perfect for you if you're interested in color work, but not all the color work. If you want to just add a bit more fun to your garments, it's like speaking to us and saying that, you know, remember there was snow before, and right now what I just thought, the snowdrop flowers that we would see throughout spring, especially at the beginning when they would come up from under the snow, and for us people that don't have any snow, bloom as soon as they decide that it is spring. And actually snowdrops in UK where I live, they started to bloom in February, so I guess they said to all of us, it is now springtime, so let's get together, shall we? And this jumper actually reminds me of that. These tiny little snowdrops that are just blooming, deciding when the spring is here. I really love this. You can make in different colors because there are different colors of flowers that are very specific for spring. You can just experiment with this. You can also do all the lines in different colors, like one line in one color and then another line in a different color, and then it becomes super fun. Also, Pride Month is coming, so you can also kind of think about that if you want to. It's gonna be a bit more like colorful, so why not? It is so fun and exciting, and I really love this. Just so simple, but you can add a bit of story to it and it becomes very special. And I just thought about this with the snowdrops, and I think the more I look at these patterns, the more I get excited. Maybe the first time that I would look through them, it would speak to me, but it doesn't actually tell me the story. But the more I look at it, the more I can feel what it's trying to tell me. And this time, this jumper told me that these are the snowdrops that are deciding that it is time for spring. Let's get color into those clothes. Let's have fun. Springtime is coming. The flowers are blooming. Everything is waking up from the long winter, and ourselves too. Spring is a perfect time for new beginnings, just trying different things and experimenting and starting new hobbies if you want to. Maybe some people are saying that the beginning of the year is a perfect time. When it's winter, you're a bit more hibernating, you're a bit more tired, you're not sure, it's a bit cold, you just want to kind of like in a blanket and not really do a lot of experimenting. But as soon as it's spring, I feel so much inspiration, so much happiness. Well, there's also a lot more sun, which brings so much joy to, I feel like, everyone. I feel like when it comes to knitwear also, it is important to showcase those emotions in your knitwear. Through clothes, we show a lot of emotions to people. Sometimes we won't feel as energetic, so our clothes wouldn't be as fun, and sometimes we're really trying to feel a bit more energy and a bit more happiness. And that's why even if I'm feeling a bit sad, I would wear something that would bring some joy. Today in the morning I was feeling super tired and I was in my pajamas half of the day. Then I felt like I really want to introduce some color into my wardrobe and wear something special for the video. And as soon as I put these on, did my makeup, I felt a lot more energized than I would have been in my pajamas. I guess clothes do help us express that happiness and maybe even bring a bit more happiness to us. Springtime, it is new opportunities, it is all about rebirth. The nature is blooming and we as people are also blooming, and it gives us so much energy. And I think it's beautiful that we're so much connected to nature, and I feel like sometimes we should take the opportunity when it comes to specific seasons, do what nature does. And yeah, in winter, we're hibernating. We can't, of course, do that throughout the whole winter because we have to do our job. There are tasks, we can't just go to sleep for 3 months. But I think when it comes to spring, it is just a wonderful time when we can do what nature tells us to do. It is wonderful. This is the final pattern that I'm going to be showcasing. When it comes to knit patterns, Timeless Tyrolean knitwear has very special patterns. I think I might have already annoyed you with the fact that the next one and the final one is going to be another flowery cardigan, but you don't have to knit it in those colors. You don't have to knit it with the color work. You can get inspired by the shape. And I really love this one because it is a perfect vintage cardigan. It is actually called 40s favorite cardigan. I would say, yeah, if I lived in the 40s, I would have definitely made something like this. It is a lot more simpler than the one that I have showcased previously. If you're not a fan of duplicate stitching, you can do the color work. But this one has a lot less color work. It's not going all around the cardigan. It is inspired by Tyrolean fashion, and it is this gorgeous piece. This book is sometimes there for my inspiration because every single pattern that you own that maybe doesn't have a lot of color, or you really love it but maybe you're not a fan of the buttons, or maybe you're not a fan of the construction, there is something that you're not a fan of, you can just get a bit more inspiration from something like this and maybe add different type of buttons that have flowers on them. There's just so much things that you can do regarding knitwear, and I really love when it comes to handmade things that you can experiment, you can adjust, you can make something different, not what the pattern is telling you. And I really love in regards to this pattern that even the color work, it actually shows you different color variations of the same color work. So you can make the flowers in different colors. Maybe you want to do some stash busting and you have a lot of yarns, you don't know what to do with them. This is perfect to add a bit of like different colors. You don't have to go with the colors of the plants. You can go with your favorite colors. You can do so much about it. This is wonderful that patterns give you the ideas to do different things about this garment, and then you continue thinking about it as your own piece, as your own creation. You just take the pattern as the base and then you sprinkle some fun color work onto it. As soon as I talked about sprinkles and using patterns as a base, I thought about making cupcakes. You would use the base of the cupcake, the ingredients are the same, but then the final look of the cupcake, maybe you're gonna use like a different color dyes on it, and you're gonna add some sprinkles and some chocolate flakes. I'm really hungry. I mean, I really want some cupcake right now. And everyone else's garment is going to be different because they decided they want to create a final thing that is so special to them, and they have a very special connection to that garment, and nobody can take it away from them because this is their story of making that specific garment. And that's how I feel about multiple things in my wardrobe, even things that I have found in vintage shops like this one. It has a very special place in my heart because I have a very special story about it. Bought it in New York 2 years ago when I went there to visit my friend. The first time in 5 years I visited her. I think the first time when you're knitting something as a beginner, it's best to maybe stick to the pattern, and then when you feel comfortable, you can change one thing in your pattern. You can maybe add a different color, different buttons, different colors. You can do a Frankenstein knitted garment if you are very good at knitting and you know how to like do different things. That's what I do in my sewing. I would smush things together from different patterns and then they work. This was the March selection. I hope you got inspired to do what you really want to do and not care what other people love. I know that I love flowers and that's why I showcase the flowers, but I always try to give people some variation and ideas on how they can make their own garment special. And at the end of the day, the decision is up to you on how your final garment is going to look like and what you're going to be knitting next. And as I said, springtime is time to try new things. So I hope you like this video. If you have any wonderful stories, I love to read them all the time. You actually bring a lot of smile into my face when you tell me that it's like, oh, it was funny that you said about this, or like, you really love vests. And I'm like, I love vests. Look at me, I'm again in a vest in a video. Also showed you some vests. Oops. If you love vests and colors, or if you are totally against everything that I have shown you today, I am still appreciating every one of you because we're all special and we have our special likes and dislikes, and nobody's the same. But maybe some things are very similar, but some things are different. I love to create space, all the different people that can come together and enjoy things that they really love. Maybe you will give me a bit more advice next time to incorporate different patterns, not these, because I keep doing the same things because that's the things that I really love. But I wouldn't really think of something else. Maybe there are some modern designers we should try, something that I wouldn't really look for. Please drop it down below. I hope you like the selection, and I will see you in my next video. Have a wonderful time whatever you're on the world, everyone. Bye!